So my name is Jenna Whittington, and I'm going to be showing you my website. I'm a secondary education mathematics major. My first page I'm showing you is the What is Disciplinary Literacy page. And I said, by definition, disciplinary literacy involves advanced literacy skills and disciplinary ways of thinking, reading, writing, speaking, listening, and viewing for deeper learning and knowledge creation within a discipline. So my discipline is math, and I said disciplinary literacy and mathematics includes the idea of not memorizing procedures, but exploring patterns and making real connections and asking real problems and questions. I said for us, this means that disciplinary literacy is used within the classroom to make connections between the content we are learning in class and being able to apply these concepts to real-world scenarios. I said also disciplinary literacy in mathematics is the ability to understand, read, and speak about mathematics using the correct language and symbols for this discipline, which is math. So my second page that I'm showing you is my pedagogical application. So this is the lesson that I created within this class, and I used linear functions in the real world, task paper, which is kind of just asking students to create a linear function about percentage work week. So my implementation of the lesson using the gradual release of responsibility is first productive group work. So I would give students a task and then ask them to complete it together in a group of 4 to 5 students. My guided instruction would be to go through the paper together and work on answering the questions. Purpose of modeling is showing students the relationship between this task and two real-world scenarios. And then independent work would be for homework, have students answer the last question on the task and have them create their own scenario and use the variables they create to graph their scenario. And then how does this lesson relate to disciplinary literacy? The first thing is using ordinary language and translating this language into mathematical terms. For example, students may be able to describe certain variables by their symbol representation, such as x is a variable, but students also need to understand how to describe what these variables represent and what type of variables these are, whether they're independent or dependent variables. And then the second one is writing out work. So this is a disciplinary literacy practice students will engage in to accomplish the learning outcomes and objectives, because students will need to work through the information that is presented to them in order to create and solve their multivariable equations and also then be able to graph it. And then the third one is to evaluate correct versus incorrect answers. Students will need to be able to decipher whether their final answers to their worksheets make sense. They would be able to do this by seeing if their solutions to their multivariable equations work out, and also whether or not the graph they create makes sense in comparison to the equation they use to create the graph. And then my last page I'm showing you is my literacy practices, and I have 5. So the first one is using and learning mathematics language. So mathematics language is not emphasized in many math classrooms. And so I find it to be my responsibility to bestow mathematical language knowledge onto my students. In order to be able to describe how one finishes a mathematical problem correctly, one must know mathematical language in order to do so. So instead of using words such as like take away from, we'll be using words like subtraction, which is the correct mathematical language. The second one is to explore patterns. When students are able to generalize mathematical concepts, they are better able to implement these concepts in future exploration of concepts. So by exploring the patterns, they're better able to make generalizations and use these generalizations to identify these concepts in future classes. And then using mathematical manipulatives. Manipulatives are mathematical models that may be used to represent and make sense of mathematical concepts. And then manipulatives can be used as a teaching strategy connected to the 4 E's of learning, and specifically the teaching strategy of engineering lessons for different types of students. And then, so I also have collaborations. So collaborations within the mathematics classroom are pertinent to student success. When one student understands a concept more than another, they can use what each other know to fill in the blanks. And sometimes students are better able to learn from their peers than any teacher that they are able to learn from. And then collaborations that promote collaborative inquiry promote learners to think about what they are learning, articulate their ideas, and reflect on what they do and do not understand. And then the last one I have is using multiple representations charts. A multiple representations chart is a way to help students develop conceptual understanding of mathematical ideas through writing by providing an opportunity to students to describe, explain, and make connections among mathematical terms, symbols, concepts, and procedures. So by using multiple representation charts, students are better able to identify concepts and skills in mathematics because they have seen these concepts represented in multiple ways and have themselves represented these concepts in multiple ways. And then I just gave two examples of one, a manipulative, which is a unit circle on a paper plate. And then the second one is a example of a multiple representations chart, and that is just showing a table or graph and equation. So yeah, that's my website, and thank you.